Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Riverfront Reds Show. This is episode number 549 of the world's most dangerous podcast, where we discuss the Cincinnati Reds and occasionally Joseph Daniel Votto. I'm Chad Dotson, your host this week. With me, once again, Chris Garber. Chris, anything interesting we need to talk about this week?
Oh, man, it is, I would say, a sad week with Joey Votto retiring from baseball. He may not have gotten the chance to go out the way he wanted, but there is a part of me that's a little bit happy that he's only going to wear a Reds uniform.
Is that selfish? And that's something I want to talk about later because I'm the same way. I know that in his we'll talk a little bit about his statement upon retirement, but he really was seemed bummed that he couldn't play a season in front of his hometown or home country as well fans, but. The fact that he's going to be he's going to join Johnny Bench and Barry Larkin and Dave Concepcion, as lifelong Reds, essentially. So I think I feel selfish for saying it, but it does make me a little happy too.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a doubt as to what bronze cap he's going to wear in Cooperstown, but I saw somebody, I don't remember who it was, today on Twitter. They tweeted at Baseball Reference, and they said, "Hey, can we get Joey's picture back to be in a Reds photo again now?"
Yeah, I pulled up his Baseball Reference page yesterday after the announcement, and it's got the Blue Jays. I'm like, no, he never played for the Blue Jays. What are we doing here? Oh, so as you heard, Joey Votto officially announced his retirement this week, and we may touch on the games last week, although this is not the week to be talking about the games. So I'm glad we have something else. Votto posted a short video from the parking lot in Buffalo where he was playing in the minor leagues. And all he said in the video was essentially, "That's it. I'm done. I'm officially retired from baseball." And then as Votto is, wont to do, he wrote a long piece under it where he had said lots of things that made me chortle a little bit, but I guess this really shouldn't have been surprising, but it kind of was for some reason because he seemed like the type of guy that he knows what he can do, but also he knows what he can do, and at some point it had to become clear to him that he wasn't going to be able to play. I don't know. It surprised me a little bit. Yeah,
I mean, he's 40, right? I think, or almost 40.
I think 41, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I'll confirm that.
And I saw Joe Sheehan noted today that this will be the first year, and I don't know how long, that there probably isn't going to be a 40-year-old player in the major leagues.
Oh, wow.
So and that, it's a for all the Tom Brady's of the world, it's still a young man's game. And the one thing I read somewhere, Joey said basically, like, I never felt at any time this year like I could be a major leaguer or something to that effect. And, as we'll probably talk about, nobody knows Joey Votto and what Joey Votto can do as well as Joey Votto. So, and the limited sample size on the field, I think he hit 185 at AAA. He's right.
He is, but I guess I just thought he would give it more of a shot in AAA because he really hadn't played that much with the injury, and so I thought I was surprised that it came now. But on the other hand, he made a statement to reporters that essentially the game's too fast for him now, and he said something that we've said here a million times, which is that Father Time is undefeated. I guess he just saw. At no time, well, I think what he put it was, at no time did I feel like I was good enough in AAA. And so I guess I always thought that when he felt that way, he would give it up. I just thought it would take a little longer for him to get there, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
So I'm a little confused. He was in Buffalo last night. That's where it was?
It was, yes. He was in Buffalo. And then –
go ahead.
Yeah, so he posted his video. He hopped in his car and drove to Toronto, where the Reds were playing against the Toronto Blue Jays. And he said he wanted to get there for the game, but he missed the game, or at least most of the game, because he had car troubles. Now Joey, are you driving Chris Sabo's, not the '85 Ford Escort? What's going on here?
I, I'm very confused by, but he's in many ways shared a lot about himself, but he's still a really enigmatic cat.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So he grabbed an Uber after the car troubles, evidently. And did you? I presume you saw what he said about his conversation with his Uber driver. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, that's like one of those, write a sad story in 15 words or less.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, do you have it? Do you have it in front of you?
Well, I think I remembered it was something to the effect of, my Uber driver. I took an Uber to the stadium, and my driver asked, "Oh, are you a player?" And I responded, "No." That's how it ended. That was the saddest thing. I mean, you could just tell.
It's right up there with baby shoes never worn.
Yeah, baby shoes for sale, never
For
worn.
sale, never worn. That's right.
Yeah, the best 6-word story ever. So he went to the stadium and he got a chance to kind of hug some of his teammates and all the quotes from all his teammates. There was one, I think, from Tyler Stevenson, who had been his teammate for a while, but the rest of the quotes from longtime Cincinnati Red, longtime Joey Votto teammate Luke Maley. And David Bell saying nice things about him, even though he played garbage players over him in the last week of last season when we could have had a send off. But otherwise he went there because he wanted to say goodbye with some of his friends. I thought that was pretty neat that
was great. Yeah. I was so confused. I thought that he must have been up with the Blue Jays. Like I didn't understand the Buffalo thing. I was just kind of baffled. Like Gordon Whitmire was stalking him around the tunnels of the stadium, which I don't know if you saw those pictures, a lot of the hugs and everything. And I was like, is Gordon just standing like 8 feet away, like snapping pictures? Like how is
he's what like hiding behind a column?
Yeah. Did you see Devin Mesoraco's tweet that he put out?
I did. Yeah. Talk about it.
Devin, Joey Votto famously on Twitter has followed exactly one person, and it's Devin Mesoraco.
Which is fair.
Yeah, right. Well, that's where you should start anyway. Right. But I think what Mesoraco say exactly is basically like, since Joey's the only person I follow, I'm going to retweet a bunch of nice things about him, so his feed is filled up for a while with good things.
Yeah, that was pretty great. Mesoraco. So the Toronto thing, can I circle back to that for 1 second, because I thought the same thing for a moment there. Was he with the team? And I wonder if this was part of the calculus, and maybe it wasn't. Maybe this is me just speculating too much. But the Reds had this series scheduled for in Toronto in August, and I wonder if it almost seems like he had it circled on his calendar. And if he could work his way back, if he could be good enough to play to earn his way onto the Blue Jays roster by that time, then what a way to be able to play against the Reds, some of his old friends in his hometown. And when that didn't happen, and he clearly wasn't performing well enough to be called up, and of course he wasn't. And the Blue Jays manager discussed that briefly, but I wonder if that was like the final straw.
It feels. I mean, it certainly feels. Emotionally, narratively, makes a lot of sense. So, I'm not. I think that's probably right.
Yeah, I don't know. So his statement. He thanking my parents, thanking my brother, all that. All the Canadians, and then he shouted out Freddie Benavides, which absolutely, why wouldn't you? Dusty Baker and Scott Rowland taught me how to be a pro's pro. Then my man Jay Bruce, can you run? Can you hit? Can you throw? Then go play. I wish I knew what that meant.
There was a lot of that whole post felt like I was reading somebody's like high school yearbook signature page. Just all inside jokes and nicknames and references that I clearly wasn't designed to get.
Yeah. One person reading it will be like, think it's the funniest thing they've ever seen or a great memory, and nope, no one else knows. Now you're loose, Gino. 1 a.m. hitting off a tee at Great American Ballpark with Mike Lincoln. What?
I assume it said M. Lincoln, right? And I'm like, it's got to be Mike.
Is there
don't know how or why.
It makes no sense. So anyway, what else? Sup Bash Bro, Adam Duvall. Got an iron, King Griffey Jr. So, MJ the GOAT, which is, I think, a poke at our friend Carlos Guevara, who argues vociferously that LeBron's the GOAT. I think they have a running,
okay.
as I understand, I think they may have a running. So LeBron's clearly the GOAT, by the way. You want to debate that? Okay,
nope,
excellent.
I'm with you.
There we go. I said that just to see if my son is listening. That's the only thing his ears will perk up. So it's done, and he was actually asked. He gave reporters, with the Toronto and Cincinnati reporters after the game. He gave a little impromptu press conference, I think, on the field. And one question was asked, well, do you think, you take off this year and you're fully healthy, maybe give it one last go next year? And he was like, I got to tell you, I thought about that, and I thought about it a lot on the drive up here. But I said, I don't see it. This is it. I don't. And one thing he said in his statement on Instagram, let me find it. Toronto, Canada, I wanted to play in front of you. I tried with all my heart to play for my people. I'm just not good anymore. That's the saddest thing to have to say that publicly. So.
I think he's got plans galore. I know he kind of alluded to it a little bit, but I think he's going to walk the earth like Kung Fu and just experience things and try new stuff. And he's going to, he's got the chess. He's working on Spanish. I think it's going to be amazing. I'd love to follow him around for the next year and just see what all he's got going.
I really hope he continues to be somewhat active on Instagram, I guess. I don't really get on Instagram very often, but I might just to follow him around, because I think you're right. I think he has the means, he has the time. I think he's going to just decide what he's curious about. And if it means going to Morocco and, spending a month in the Sahara Desert, I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, though, because he's a really interesting guy, and he's curious about the world, and he's got unlimited time, resources, and good health. So,
yeah,
best to him.
Well, let's talk for just a moment about his legacy, and his legacy in Cincinnati, and of course his legacy in the baseball world. So, a forever Red. Now, I wrote the hot take piece in Cincinnati Magazine a few years ago about him being the greatest Red of all time. It's not true. You can make an argument he's the greatest hitter. Make an argument. I'm not saying that today. I'm not declaring that. But he's clearly on the Mount Rushmore of Reds, all-time Reds. Don't you think? Or maybe not clearly. That's a tough.
Yeah, if you've only got 4. Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably between him and Frank Robinson, probably I think you've got Rose and Morgan and bench, and probably Votto or Frank Robinson. I mean, you could argue about Morgan for like career length. If you do it all time, only Reds, he's on there for sure.
Yeah, that gives him a little bit of a bump, I think. But he's okay. Top 5, one of the top 5.
Top 5. Let's make it. Why limit? Find a bigger mountain.
That's right, exactly. But that's not nothing. One of the 5 greatest players ever to play for a team's been around,
and we got to watch all of it.
Well, that's what I used to say about Barry Larkin and why he became my favorite player. That I always said he'd be my favorite player forever, which I don't know if he is anymore. Those are things you think about when you're younger. But the fact that I got to see his entire career and he played for the Reds the entire time, I mean, that's a big deal. It was a huge deal to me. And the Reds have been largely garbage in our lifetimes, but we did get to see the full careers of 2 really, really special players. And, that ain't nothing.
Yeah, and we're both old enough to remember, them getting called up, them being a prospect, them getting called up, them having, in Larkin's case, a little bit of growing pains, in Votto's a lot of frustration that Scott Hatteberg was playing first base and Votto wasn't. I mean, we've been covering the Reds through that whole time. You could probably go back and dig around and see what we had to say about Joey Votto back in 2006, 2007.
No, I'm sure you can. And I hope you don't go do that. But yeah, we were at Red Leg Nation before he debuted, and so um, my goodness. Well, that's kind of funny too that we've been following the Reds closely for a long time. We've been actually commenting on the Reds
Yeah.
for his entire career, and we've said a lot of very kind things about Joey Votto. I don't think we're in the crowd that disliked him, but there's a pretty loud contingent that I don't know if anti-Votto is the right thing, but we're super critical, overly critical of Votto.
Yeah, I mean Joe Posnanski's essential baseball newsletter, I guess you call it, had a tribute to Votto today, and he and Votto became friendly. Votto famously made him refer to him as Joseph because he wasn't talking to him from the clubhouse. But he kind of details some of that and the real nonsense that the Reds organization was putting Votto through, trying to remake him as a different kind of hitter, not understanding what was going to make him great, and really like messing around with him. And a couple of his years in the minor leagues were when he was being asked to do things that weren't him. You remember the famous was it Wayne Krivsky, everybody takes a strike rule, which is funny. I mean, Votto of all people knows when to take and when not to. And then you had the whole RBI ridiculousness when Dennis Jansen, after they fired Dusty Baker and they brought in Brian Price, and Dennis Jansen, a local newscaster, said, quote, "I asked Walt Jocketty if Price is up to the task of disabusing Joey of the notion that a base on balls is as beneficial as a run-scoring sacrifice fly. Walt gave me an emphatic yes, but added, that is something many more of us in the organization will also try to convey." And as Posnanski calls it, it's a spectacularly silly and antiquated question and answer that it's hard to believe happened barely more than a decade ago. And what's really funny, he said he looked it up. He said, you know what Joey Votto hit in sacrifice fly situations? 394 batting average, 496 on base, 685 slugging.
Clutch.
He walked 111 times, of which 43 were intentional. It's just absurd.
Yeah.
It's just absurd, and he went into the whole thing, and then the Reds' longtime play-by-play announcer was always writing him about RBI, and it's frustrating to me even now that kind of stuff was said, that kind of stuff was heard and believed and repeated, and that Votto had to put up with it, but he just kept being him and kept hitting.
Well, and that comes back to he knew Joey Votto better than anyone. He knew what he could do, what he couldn't do, and what he needed to do to be successful. And yeah, the stuff about the broadcaster, there's no doubt. I mean, it fed into this narrative, but some of that is also the fact that Joey Votto was a different type of superstar than baseball really had ever seen. He got on base as much as anyone, basically, in baseball. Not literally, but he's up there. And it came right at the time when people were sort of raging against the dying light of the old game, of the 1980s game, and the way it was when we grew up. And people were just starting to realize that, oh, wait a minute, getting on base is probably the most important thing a hitter can do. Maybe we should value that. And there were a lot of people that still don't believe that, but it led to a lot of people just completely misunderstanding exactly how valuable he was. I'm proud to say that we have it in print and in audio many times that we were ahead of the curve. But I think that's it was symptomatic of baseball fandom at large for all of that time.
Yeah, he was I don't know what you call it, a dog chew toy that's getting pulled on by two different crowds. The traditional RBI and feared slugger folks, but I think he came along at a time when the majority of the crowd really did get it because he got MVP votes. Yeah, a lot of them. He was recognized by what we'll call the new wave, but it's not new anymore, of baseball thinkers and baseball writers and baseball minds. I think especially by the end, I think people really, I think that was done. I think the folks that thought he was a lesser hitter than he should have been because he didn't have RBIs, I think they lost. And I think it was pretty clear that they lost the argument.
Yeah, but I just think back to the beginning when it took a little time to fight through that cloud, and he could have been up a year and a half, 2 years earlier. And what might we have seen? And it's just it was a misunderstanding by a large portion of course, the Reds fan base historically has been extremely hard on the superstars of the team since the Big Red Machine. Now, maybe it was the same way during the Big Red Machine. Doesn't seem like it, but I think of Adam Dunn that we've talked about so many times, and what he had to go through, and Joey Votto. So Votto, since we're talking about kind of the new wave of analytics and how we understand how good players are if they do certain things in WRC plus, weighted runs created plus. Now a bunch of people just turned me off. I'm sorry, it's one of them fancy nerd stats, but in all of baseball since 1947. Since 1947, top 20 in all of baseball. That's, we're talking 80 years.
Yeah. That's tell your kids about it stuff. That's we're going to be talking about Votto when we're older and grayer. And I think to talk a little bit about how he's perceived, I think the Hall of Fame's a done deal. I really don't think that's a debate at all.
It was for a long time.
It was for a long time. I mean, you saw, I mean, I don't like the comparison thing, but if Harold Baines is in there, Joey Votto's in there. if Todd Helton's in there, and he should be, but
yeah, I agree.
Joey Votto's in there. So I think the folks who are voting for the Hall of Fame now completely get it, completely understand on base percentage and slugging percentage, and I think he's I haven't looked to see who's on the ballots, in 5 years, but I think he's in, or 4 years. I think I think he's in. Probably the first ballot.
I think so too. I think those that are voting that don't quite get that are still more old school. Every year there are fewer and fewer of them that are voting. So I think he's first ballot. I hope he's first ballot, but if not, I think he's second ballot. There's just no question. He's a Hall of Famer. Can I ask you a trivia question?
Please.
Or maybe two. Four players since 1900 have played more games for the Reds than Joey Votto's 2,056 games. Who are those four players?
All right. Pete Rose.
Pete Rose is one of them.
Barry Larkin. Bid McPhee.
Not Bid McPhee. It's a good guess. We've mentioned the other two already today.
Gary Reedus.
Gary Reedus, just slightly fewer.
John Bench.
John Bench is one of those. And there's a certain other player that played his entire career for Cincinnati and played shortstop in the 80s and 70s.
I thought I said him. Oh, I didn't say Barry. I said Barry Larkin.
Did Barry Larkin didn't play shortstop?
Oh, Conception?
Yeah, Conception. Yeah.
David Conception,
yes. So Joey Votto's 409 on-base percentage. How many players in Reds history have a higher on-base percentage?
0.
One, actually.
Oh, who is it?
Back to our Mount Rushmore discussion. It's Joe Morgan.
Oh.
Joe Morgan's on-base percentage was 415. Joey Votto 409.
Is that Morgan's career?
No, I think it's Red's career.
Okay.
Yeah. Which actually, if you look at Morgan's full career, he played a lot of years, but I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's not 409. So that's actually an argument in favor of in some ways, Votto's career. And OPS. Joey Votto had 920 OPS in his career. One player in their Reds career had a higher one.
Would that be Robinson?
That is Frank Robinson, 943. So that's pretty good company.
Yeah. Joe Morgan's career is 392, by the way.
Oh, so there you go.
You count the kind of decline phase with Phillies and A's and Giants.
So what you're saying, I think this is what I'm hearing. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I'll let you clarify. But Joey Votto was better than Joe Morgan.
He is a better hitter than Joe
He
Morgan.
got on base at a better clip in his career.
I'd say he's a better hitter than Joe Morgan.
Actually, I think you could. Again, not that Joe Morgan wasn't a great hitter, but you could absolutely make that argument. Let's see what other Reds all-time leader in walks. Finished his career with a 294 average, so not quite 300, but no one hits 300 anymore. Can we talk a little bit about some memories? What's your favorite memory going to be of Joey Votto?
Oh my gosh,
a few years.
It's hard to say. I mean, he was so consistent and so, let's say methodical, but and then you also say he didn't have an opportunity to play in the biggest stages because the team was lousy. Honestly, I think the favorite thing about Joey Votto was the day he stomped that paper airplane. That made me so happy late in his career when he was feeling comfortable and he just decided to take a heel turn across the National League. I don't know if that was Philadelphia or LA or where it was, but some fan threw a paper airplane on the field and Votto just went over there and Godzilla stomped it.
That moment in his career, I didn't see it coming because he had been very reserved and, as a young guy, dealing with a lot of things emotionally and just trying to establish himself. And at some point he just decided, I'm going to let people see who I am. And he did that. He had one season there where he did that and, stealing balls from fans in the stands, it was the oddest thing because of how different it was to what the Joey Votto we'd come to know and love. I think my favorite, I don't know what I'm going to remember most about him, but there's so many, and I'm going to toss out a couple here. What was that whole Canadian Mountie thing where he put on a Dudley Do-Right outfit and did an interview?
With the MLB Network.
Yeah.
Was he talking about having a horse and just like made up a whole bunch of nonsense?
Yes.
I guess what we're talking about that, the time when he bought Zach Cozart a donkey for making the All-Star team.
The most random thing ever. And then he goes on MLB Network while Cozart was getting interviewed, and he's wearing a donkey costume. I mean, it's what are we even doing here? He had such a personality that he really didn't for a long time let people get to see, and it made some people mad, of course, that he was having fun or being mean to opposing fans or whatever. But I don't know. I got a real kick out of that. What else? There was something else. A couple things I wanted to mention about Votto. The late career. I've got a photo here if I can find it. That I want to show. Just hanging out in chess clubs, dressed like. I mean,
like Urkel.
Like Urkel, the suspenders, tie. I mean, hanging out in chess clubs. The Spanish stuff is amazing, and I saw that he's going to be doing an online course through Arizona State University for Spanish. Still trying to get better, but he learned Spanish early in his career because he felt like he needed to be, if he was going to be a leader, he needed to be able to communicate with his Spanish-speaking teammates. I mean, that's not a common thing. It's
not common. I think Barry Larkin pretty famously did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's and that's not easy.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. I've been trying to learn Spanish now for a year and a half, and I feel like I'm not even much closer to being fluent than I was before. Let's see what else did I want to mention about Joey Votto. I don't the late career resurgence there and the 8 straight games home runs and just and seeing how that season completely changed the narrative to being like, I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer to, oh my gosh, yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Are you talking about 2021?
Yeah.
When he hit 36 home runs, he just decided he was going to hit for a power. Yeah, I
Who can
think
do that?
I don't know. I mean, I think that was like his third best or fourth best slugging percentage, and he was what 37 years old.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll give you that kind of hitter. Sure.
In Flanders Field on his Players Weekend jersey, whatever that was about. I
I
don't
you
know.
know I wish him the best and do what he wants to do, but I really wish and hope that he stays around the game. I mean, we've said this for years. Like a Joey Votto science of hitting book
Oh my goodness.
would be one of the
Oh,
most amazing things that you could ever read. Maybe he'd try it. I don't know.
I don't know. What I would love, and I don't know Joey Votto. I interviewed him one time, but so I don't have any insight. But I get the sense that it's a pipe dream for us to dream for him to be in the broadcaster's booth. But man, I've never seen a guy that was more of a natural when he sat in during one of those injuries in the broadcast booth and just knocked it out of the park like he was a 20-year professional.
Unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And you
Yeah.
compare him to other elite players who have made the same journey who aren't a shadow of it.
Well, I don't know who we're talking about here, but maybe, I guess. I don't know I can't figure out what you're referencing. Remember the time that he just walked around the stadium
Yeah,
and just
I was just
just
thinking that
sat,
too.
talked to people.
I figure I'd see the game from up here.
Yeah.
Never done that.
Yeah. Oh man, Joseph Daniel Votto. Um, so clearly a Hall of Famer. We're agreed there. Top 5 all-time Reds. Two questions here. I think one of these you suggested. Well, let me just ask you in this way. What should the Reds do something, and what should they do before the end of this season related to Joey Votto?
I think they need to have him back. I think they need to do a Joey Votto day, and it needs to be now. I don't think it needs to be. Obviously he has to agree to it. And I don't know how he feels about the organization, truthfully. I don't want it to be next May where they talk about it for 4 months and they hype it up and sell tickets on it. I think it just ought to be tell us now. I don't know when they're back, but 2 Sundays from now, 2 Saturday nights from now, whatever it is, Joey Votto Day, come out and show your appreciation.
I agree. I don't see it happening, and I'm with you. It was kind of bitter at the end there, I believe, between him and the organization. So he may not agree to it. There may need to be a little bit of distance. But then on the other hand, he drove to Toronto, so maybe not. Maybe there's not as much bitterness as has been whispered about. I don't think they'll do it just because of the way they screwed up last year when he went out, and which reminds me of the funniest Joey Votto thing ever. In his last game he ever played in the major leagues, he was ejected from the game.
And the first at bat, right?
Yes, yeah, very first at bat. So
they said they would show their appreciation for him at the appropriate time or some Crawleyan nonsense like that, right?
Do you know what the appropriate time means? After we've had enough time to manufacture the bobbleheads.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, well, they should do something. If Votto would do it, they should do something in this year. Give him a chance to walk onto the field, tip his cap, let everybody show some appreciation. And there were moments last year where he got some of that, which was good.
Yeah.
But not at the end of the season. And then next year, next May, you have the bobbleheads. You have, a bunch of former old Reds Hall of Famers come back in. You retire his number. They have to retire his number, right? Is that a no-brainer?
That's a no-brainer. What they ought to do is put him in the Reds Hall of Fame next year.
Why not?
Why wait? Why wait?
Yeah, just do it. Is someone going to complain that they violated their own rules?
Yeah, no.
I will. I'll complain. Because I'm still trying to get on that Veterans Committee for the Hall of Fame, and I'm getting no traction. I'm making no headway. So, yeah, do that. Announce that he's been inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Reds Hall of Fame. Put up the number 19 next to Barry Larkin's number 11. Have a day where everybody comes back. Or what I see the Reds doing is this. Maybe have a day for him this year. Next year, have a day where you retire his number. and then later in the season have another day so you can sell more tickets where you put him in the Hall of Fame, and then have another day where you celebrate the Big Red Machine. Oh no, that doesn't have anything to do with Votto.
What's interesting, I just looked up the Reds Hall of Fame rules and regulations, and they require that the player be retired for 5 years.
Yep.
Which to me is moronic because he's not going to go to that when he's going to Cooperstown a month later. Like why be in the business of being second best if do it first?
Well, I look at, and this is slightly going against my interests here because I look at the next time. Well, he won't be on the what they call the modern player ballot, so he wouldn't. But a guy like Brandon Phillips is going to be who's elected on the modern player ballot next time, which is fine. Brandon Phillips is a Reds Hall of Famer, no issues with that. But I don't understand why a team Hall of Fame would make it harder to induct the players who obviously need to be, while people kind of still remember them a little bit, So I don't know. Put them both in, along with Reggie Sanders. What are we waiting for?
Yeah, no kidding. Is there a limit? Can you only do one per year?
One, I think it's one from the modern player ballot, and I think you can have more than one on the veteran. You can't have more than one on the
Veterans Committee.
Yeah, because they did last time.
We just need to talk to the good folks at Dinsmore, sponsor of the Hall of Fame, and as I understand it, kind of running the show over there is what somebody told me. I don't know if that's true.
Well, that's a law firm.
It's a law firm. It's a good law firm.
It is a good law firm. Maybe you and I should just try to infiltrate from inside.
That's a good idea.
We both have law licenses.
It's true.
We could. No, I'm not going to work there. So, Reds Hall of Famer, ultimately a Hall of Famer. What do you think? Would you consider going to Cooperstown for that?
You know what? I hadn't thought of it. And yes, that's a great idea. You'll be up there with Reds fans and Canadians.
Right, exactly. I always said that I would go when Larkin was inducted. For the same reason you said earlier, that he's the guy that I watched my whole career. And then I don't remember what was going on that summer, but I couldn't go. I couldn't make it. I've been to Cooperstown once, not for an induction, but just to visit. I might have to go to that one. I made a promise to my grandmother in the late 80s or early 90s that, and she passed away in 2020. Rest in peace, the greatest woman that ever lived on earth, Dorothy Dotson. But she made me promise that when Pete Rose was finally inducted, I would take her. And I was like, well, yeah, I'll do it. Sure. And so that never happened, obviously. But I want to go for an induction sometime. And if we don't get Votto, I don't know that I'll have any kind of personal interest. I could still go to induction, but this is might be the last one for a while.
Yeah. So looking at the ballot.
So Votto gets in.
It looks like Votto would be on a ballot with Miguel Cabrera, Zach Greinke.
Hall of Famer. I think a Hall of Famer. He may have trouble first ballot. I don't know.
I agree. Adam Wainwright, Nelson Cruz, Michael Brantley, Josh Donaldson, and Corey Kluber, as well as guys. Now here's the nightmare scenario. Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina are on the 2028 ballot. Pujols is in. A nightmare scenario is you have to go up there to a town full of Cardinal fans and Molina fans.
Oh my goodness! No,
crowding out Joey's joy. Can you imagine Greinke and Votto giving speeches back to back?
Oh, I would. Look,
I
would pay much United States legal tender to watch that. That would be amazing. Two of the most unique players of our lifetime.
Yeah. And Cabrera's no slouch either.
True. So, look, I don't know. Molina does throw a wrench into it, and then whoever else doesn't make it in prior years. but it looks a lot to me like Votto and Cabrera stand a pretty good shot. I mean, and that'd be interesting. That would be good. Here's what I see happening, though. This is going to be my luck. Well, my luck was that nothing to do with me. But Votto becomes eligible, and baseball writers decide to quit being idiots and just put the best players that ever played in. Although Barry Bonds may be off the ballot by that time, actually, now that I think about it, and Roger Clemens and
I think they're off.
A-Rod, are they already off?
Maybe not. Maybe not all of them, but
yeah. Okay, so maybe that won't be a problem. So we're going to plan on going. All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
My son and I will meet you, and at least one of your sons.
Those three guys are three guys who really, really love playing baseball.
Which three guys are we talking about?
Cabrera, Greinke, and Votto.
Yeah.
Like those are three guys who got a lot of enjoyment and gave a lot of enjoyment from playing the game. I mean, there's other great players, but you pick three dudes who had a good time and seem to really love it. That's a good set there.
Yeah, three really unique guys. I mean, that'd be a fun weekend. That would be a fun weekend if we get those three.
2029. I've already had to make promises here in the house about the 2028 Olympics.
Well, I made some of those promises recently myself.
Yeah. So every single child in this house independently came up to me, and I think they planned it because they all said, you promised we can go to the Olympics in LA. I was like, I don't remember making any such promise. Now, I actually want to do it, so yeah. I'm down, but I'm like, I don't think I promised anything to anybody. But we'll see. And I've got a nephew who's a really good swimmer who actually, if things progress and he develops, has an outside shot at making that team. So that will make it even better.
Yeah. So you and I are going to go ahead and put it on our calendars. We'll coordinate the Hall of Fame and then the year before that, the Olympics. I did the same thing. The truth is, I watched the Olympics growing up. I have not watched the Olympics in the last 15, 20 years. I didn't get it. This year, for some reason, and I don't know if it's because I had access to more events and I could pick and choose what I wanted to watch. I don't know what it was, but I watched quite a bit. And you know what? I enjoyed it.
I think you, me, and everybody else are saying the same thing. I don't know if it was Snoop.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I've heard that from a ton of people. I don't know. I mean, it was on nonstop in our house. And I didn't mind the tape delay part for some reason, I guess because I could have watched it. I didn't mind, the prime time was kind of packaged up, but in a way that I enjoyed. I just loved it. I loved every bit of it.
Well, it wasn't hard for me this year. Maybe it wasn't hard for me to ignore what was going on live during the day because I was otherwise occupied and easy to stay away from results or whatever. And because I didn't really have any investment in most of the results anyway, but it was other than the breakdancing. I'm not sure what that was about. But the ray gun. Can we?
That I could do without.
Yeah, but I guess there's gonna be flag football in LA.
I heard that. A lot of jockeying for positions, and I think somehow the current, and this is the thing, Team USA flag football team is a little bit put out. At the idea that they're finally getting on the big stage and they're going to get bumped right off for Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow.
Well, did you see the video today? I happened to see it of the current quarterback who has been making a lot of noise about what you're talking about maybe not these guys coming in. Have you seen it? Yeah.
No. What did he say?
Well, he didn't say anything. It was a clip of him throwing a pass. And there's no one on earth that would allow that guy to throw a pass ahead of Patrick Mahomes. I think I could throw. I don't know. Maybe it was. I'm going to blame AI. It can't be real. But it was not good.
Not good. Not good. Yeah, I remember. So you were probably the same. Like 1984, I watched that night and day, whatever was on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then I remember in 1988. They introduced kind of like a pay-per-view thing you could sign up for on cable, like a premium channel. And it was the gold, silver, and bronze channels. And it was kind of like what you got with Peacock now, where they were just showing yachting or whatever, sailboat racing for 2 hours and equestrian for 2 hours. Now, we didn't have the money to pay for it, but back in the day, the channels that were scrambled, as any teenage boy knew, scrambled channels weren't
completely scrambled. Sometimes.
They weren't completely scrambled, right? And I remember like one of the channels was like a little staticky, but you could kind of watch it. And then
was that Cinemax?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the gold channel.
Okay. Okay.
And then like the silver channel, the bronze channel was just nothing you couldn't see. But the silver channel, you could watch like half of it. And I don't mean like 30 seconds per minute. I mean like the left half of the screen.
Yeah.
And the right half was snow. And the left half was like a little bit blurry, but you could watch it. So we're watching these events and, the guy runs across the screen. He disappears. You have no idea what's going on. And we watched that for hours on end. Hours on end.
The kids that are listening, if there were any kids actually listening, I'd be like, what are you, scrambled? What does that even mean?
Right.
I don't know. I thought we had a strict rule not to mention the 1988 Olympics on this show, though. Didn't you realize that?
No, why is that?
Well, what happened to the USA basketball team that year?
Oh, well, I call that the inspiration for the dream team. It
was. John Thompson, first from my beloved Georgetown Hoyas, first coach to lose the gold medal.
No. Well, that's not true.
Well, that's actually not true. You're right. Well,
1972, was that Hank Iba or something?
Yeah. You're right.
They were robbed.
That's true. They were completely robbed.
And the silver medal still sit in the vault, right?
Still, yeah. It was the Doug Collins team, right?
Yep.
So, was Hank Iba the coach? Good call there. I don't think I knew that.
I may be lying, but
yeah, no one cares, and no one's going to.
No one's checking up on us.
No one's going to check up on it. So, any final words? I guess right now we'll have plenty more words in the future about Joey Votto. But anything else that where does he stand in kind of your consciousness as a Reds fan?
He dominates. He dominates the last 15 years for sure, right? I mean,
yeah.
You had some good players throughout there, but a lot of them I think about in their relation to Votto. I think about Shin-Soo Choo. I think about him as like Joey Votto's buddy.
Yeah.
Their odd bromance. I think about Jay Bruce, and I think about like how those two kind of made each other better.
Yeah.
I think about, some of the guys up now and how they used Votto as a mentor and a sounding board early in their career. So he's first and foremost and pretty much all that was worth watching.
Yeah, I think you and I are the same generation, and so it's kind of weird how and everyone can go back and think about this in your own lifetimes, the sort of eras of the Reds, and we kind of came up when it was just the last. All the adults around us were talking about the Big Red Machine, and we got to see sort of the last spurts of that, and then go into a pretty rotten time. But I think Mario Soto. These are the big names that pop out. We had Mario Soto, and then I love Tom Browning, and Eric Davis, and then you go into the '90s, and you've got Barry Larkin. I mean, Barry Larkin was the '90s for the Reds, and then you get to the 2000s, and we had Adam Dunn, and Junior, but I'm not sure anyone really. And this is recency bias, maybe, but the way Votto stands out as being just, and also maybe because the team was so bad, he stood out so much that we had this one legitimate superstar, and they refused to put a team around him. And I don't know. I think that's probably where he stands to me, is just the kind of regret that the Reds squandered one of the greatest careers in the history of baseball.
And they paid him.
They did.
I mean, I believe I read it today, and I believe it's correct that was the biggest contract ever given to a major league player at the time.
Yeah,
I mean,
and so how do you make that commitment and then not commit, right?
I don't know. It's a Ferrari, and you say you can't afford gas,
and that's the most frustrating part, which comes partially because of my own frustrations with the way the organization is done, but just. We had this, and I think part of it is because the Reds have a budding superstar or two right now, and I see no indication that they're going to commit to putting a team around them or to keep them around long term.
No.
So
I mean, they gave Hunter Green some money. They bought out 1 year free agency, I think.
Yeah, basically the same thing they did with Johnny Cueto.
Yeah.
Did you see the Cueto highlight?
Yeah, that was great. Another favorite guy.
Yeah, Kansas City gave him a really nice send off as he walked off the field. I love that guy. That guy was.
I do too. And what's crazy is like that was 9 years ago that he was on their team.
I know, right? I felt like he's a Red. Like,
Yeah.
Oh man, he's still kicking barely, but kudos to him. So I guess the last thing I want to touch on before we get off this, because we've gone on entirely too long about Joey Votto and somehow the Olympics. The Reds have had a Hall of Famer on their roster. I wish I'd looked this up, but I mean, let's go back. I mean, you got Votto, and Votto played with Larkin, and Larkin played with Kevin Bacon. No, that's the wrong game. So Larkin played with, I guess,
Pete.
Hall of Famer.
Well, sorry, not Pete. Tony Perez.
Tony Perez. Perez played with Pete, and Pete's not Hall of Famer, but Johnny. And then you go back to they played with Frank Robinson. I don't know, maybe longer than that. He wouldn't know.
I think there's a gap between Lombardi and Robinson of a couple years. Yeah. And then I'm pretty sure that 1983 they didn't have one.
But basically, since late 50s, when did Robinson come up? The late 50s, right? 58?
54.
Was that early? 55? Yeah, that's probably true. So from then, and that's a long time ago, until 2023, the Reds basically had a Hall of Famer on their roster every single year. They did in 83 as well. I think Vern Rapp. I think he's in the Hall of Fame. Chris texted me about Vern Rapp this week. We're not going to get into that, but Chris literally just this past week texted me about Vern Rapp. This is why I like Chris Garber. Potentially a Hall of Famer on this roster. Way too soon to say, but I don't know. What do you think? You're going to make a hot take, a prediction here that someone on the current roster, on last year's roster that played with Votto.
Yeah, that rules out Santiago Espinal.
It does. Oh,
clearly, Elly De La Cruz, it's a long, long, long way, but his start is at that level.
Absolutely. And I think, Hunter Green, that's a little bit more of threading the needle, but they're too early to say. They have
and I have no idea what a Hall of Fame starting pitcher looks like anymore. I have no idea.
And you mentioned Joe Posnanski in his newsletter, and he talked about that last week, a week before, just about this crazy proposed baseball rule that you have to go 6 innings, which gets at, I understand why you're having that discussion, but that's not the way to do it. But yeah, I don't know what a starting pitcher is now. And 20 years from now, will any starting pitcher make the Hall of Fame?
Are they going to have 100 wins and that's the new 300?
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. So just quickly, because we've gone too long, there are a couple things I want to mention about what's going on with the Reds, because I love this. We talk about Elly De La Cruz now is over 20 home runs and 60 stolen bases on the season. And I absolutely adore this stat. 5 players in the entire history of baseball have ever accumulated 20 homers and 60 stolen bases in a season. And those are kind of, I know when we were coming up, 30-30 was like the big thing. So I don't know, this is kind of random, 20 homers, but only 5 players have ever done it. Well, first of all, I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you name those 5?
Oh, you know what? Well, I know Eric Davis is one of them.
Eric Davis, Elly De La Cruz.
Elly De La Cruz. Did Ricky Henderson ever do it?
Ricky Henderson did it, I think, 3 times.
Did Barry Bonds do it?
Barry Bonds did not do it, which surprises me.
I don't think Joe Morgan did it.
Joe Morgan did do it.
Okay.
In 1973 and 1976 is MVP season.
Okay.
So you got 4 of the 5.
4 of the 5. I think the other one's really obscure. It's like he wasn't that good, right?
Well, I don't think I would say that. It's a current player.
Current player. Oh no, it's Soto.
It is not.
No, it's Acuna. It's Acuna. Sorry.
Rob Acuna.
Yeah, he is good.
But
make no mistake. Let the record show that Ronald Acuna is really good.
Yeah, not obscure. Not obscure at all. I think it's crazy that only 5 players ever have done it. Again, and I know it's a random obscure stat, but 3 of the 5 were Cincinnati Reds. What are the chances of that?
That's crazy. Well, I tell you what, I mean, it's the most exciting way to play baseball is knocking it all over the fence and running real fast.
Yeah, that's a unlike what we're seeing from starting pitching, which is going the wrong direction in terms of entertainment. Elly De La Cruz is providing entertainment. Just quickly, Hunter Green on the injured list. He was looking really, honestly, like a top-tier Cy Young candidate.
Yeah, it's awful. I mean, I'm well beyond the point at which I greet Reds injury news with optimism. Day to day, and we'll check him out and we'll see. And he's going to get an MRI, or maybe he already got an MRI. I'm worried because he was having a great year.
That was the other part of it, is that Nick Krall's like, yeah, well, we're being precautious, and at some point we'll have an MRI. And then David Bell comes in and says, yeah, he had the MRI. I mean, like the next day, I'm like, guys, get on the same page with your. They really need a director of. I think Doug Gray said this. The Reds really need a director of communications. That's what they need. A PIO, a public information officer, to just, get the narrative out so that people that don't know how to talk can stop talking.
Yes.
Well, we had a bunch of viewer mail questions. We did not get to them. We've run long because we're waxing poetic, I guess. I think I can hopefully talk Nate into doing a viewer mail episode, a bonus episode here sometime this week, because there was a lot of good stuff about Joey Votto in those viewer mail questions. I will just quickly say, here we are. The Reds are 62-65. We have 37 games left, 36 games left, and I don't know. I was told there was going to be no math, but they're 11 games out of first, in 4th place. Thank you, Pirates, for maintaining the cellar. The Reds are 5.5 back in the wild card. Can the Reds make up 5.5 games over the next?
Can or will?
I think this both the same. I think the answer is the same either way.
Yeah, and they're losing to the Pirates right now.
Losing to the Pirates now. They lost. They're swept, I guess, last week by the Kansas City Royals at home. That felt like the end. Although they did win 2 of 3 in Toronto, but I don't know. It's over. We'll do the postmortems after the season. Chris, any final thoughts here before we wrap it up?
God bless Joey Votto.
God bless Joey Votto. So there are a bunch of things I'm supposed to say about the Blue Wire Podcast Network and patreon.com/riverfrontcincy, but I didn't write them down, and I'm out of practice here, so I'm not going to say it. Chris, thank you for joining us. This is the Riverfront Red Show, episode number 549. I'm Chad Dotson for Chris Garber and Joey Votto. So long, everyone. Maybe, except that I don't have the video queued up here, so I need to go find it.
We're still here. Somebody.